The last few videos, we've talked a lot about the importance of using your feet and calves to generate power. In today's video, we're going to talk about the importance of the hip. You need to load up the hips to get and generate power. Whether you're jumping, throwing a kick, or punching, the hips play a vital role.
Bazooka Joe Valtellini.
Try to jump from standing without your hips bending. You can't do it. In order to jump high, you got to bend at the hip. Now this way you can jump and get maximum power. Triple extension, you're using your calves, your knees, as well as your hips. So the same thing applies when throwing technique because it's that transfer of power. So now when I want to kick fight, it's nice to stand nice and tall. Okay, it's nice to block this way and it keeps me further away. If I want to defend punches, I can slip and counter with my kicks staying nice and long. But now it's time for me to adjust to power punch. So I do need to adjust my stance and change my weight distribution. Traditionally, kick fighting, you're going to be a little bit heavier on the back leg so you can defend and then step to counter and to chop. But now when I'm attacking, I need a hip hinge. So now I need to stick my butt back and get my head on top of my knee. With my head on top of my knee now I can get power in all of my strikes because I'm engaging my hips, my glutes, and my legs. If I'm trying to power punch from a tall position, I don't get that loaded hip and I don't get to use my muscles and my leg as much. So power punching, I need to think about sticking my butt backwards, head on top of my knee to be able to attack. And from this position here, you can see how I can dig and be able to push and generate full power. Standing too tall, you don't get that power. Maybe good for mixing combinations, and that's the biggest problem you see when you get traditional Muay Thai fighters or kickboxers going into MMA. They keep that same tall stance thinking that the range and they're gonna be able to use their kicks as much. So usually when you see a kickboxer transfer over to MMA, they have to adjust their stance, lower their base, stick their butt behind them. This way you can defend takedowns as well as get more power. So you do have to change your stance and your weight distribution according to what technique you want to get maximum power with. So getting that hip hinge position can be difficult for a lot of fighters. So especially if you don't do athletic training. Usually when you do strength and conditioning, the first thing they teach you is that hip hinge because you need that in order to squat and deadlift properly. So in order to train yourself and give you that visual and that kinesthetic awareness, I like to use the band. So as I push forward, it forces my butt backwards. Now from here, you can see when I throw my combinations, it's forcing me to load up and get my head over my knee and still keep my butt behind me. And now from the squatted position, you can see I can bend my legs to get power. All right, so tie the band, have a partner hold it. This way, get that hip hinge, you're gonna see a big difference in your power. One quick tip I'm gonna give you, and the problem is, especially with our lead hooks, if we stand really tall, we don't get that power. So we need the hip hinge one, okay? And a good visual for my shoulders, I could touch the ground or touch my knee on the opposite side, and now you can see how I can get my head on top of me. Still, a lot of times you'll see with the band, you might see a lot of fighters keep their chest nice and high. You need to get, the key is head on top of the knee. This way, now full generation of power in your stance. And now the power can come from the feet into my quads, into my hip for power. And that's how you get power from the ground and maximum power and the way you get your knockouts.